11, which encompasses Old Hickory and part of Hermitage. This is a proposal at 4319 Saundersville Road, Old Hickory, Tennessee. As you know, the church that's already in the proposal is, of course, keep the church there. And I think they want to add townhouses in the back of this property. What I'm going to do is allow, who's going to be the spokesman? Adam, are you the spokesman or introducing all this?
Yes, I'll go ahead and, yes, it's Adam. I can, right, I've got a little presentation I can put together.
All right. So I'm going to let Adam Seeger introduce himself. And then when we're done with this, everybody can ask questions. A lot of you, there's a few of you just got your phone numbers. Matt can introduce you by your last numbers, and some of you got your names up there, and we'll discuss it. There are a lot of questions I'm going to ask as well, because I own property over on Shasta, which is off of Cascade across the street. So that's kind of where it's at. All right. So Adam, I'm going to let you do the presentation, and we'll go with question and answers.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Hager. My name is Adam Sager, and I welcome everybody that can hear me and that's online here. I know it's difficult for all of us not being able to be in person and show this to you, but I'll do the best I can. And like Councilman Hager said, this is on Saundersville Road, up close to the county line. I am a civil engineer. I want to introduce myself first. I work for Dale & Associates in Nashville. We've been around for about 40 years. And we do all kinds of different stuff around Nashville, Davidson County, and metro area. And we design properties and do entitlement work, and we work with the city, Nashville Planning Department, and engineering, and stormwater, and water and sewer. With the councilmen, we work with neighbors, we work with all various sorts. We're kind of in the middle of all of it, of the land development stuff, and so a lot of times we're asked to present because we have kind of our pulse on just about everything. And I'm going to quickly introduce the project and the layout, and then have time for questions. So let me, well, there it goes. By now we're doing a lot of online meetings, and so I just had this up from previous. I'll try to present in 15, 20, hopefully less than 30 minutes, and we'll go quickly. And then I want to give more time to question and answer. And on question and answer, what's been helpful for us is if you can go on the chat function and type your questions. Mr. Matthew Wilkinson is kind of the facilitator of the WebEx function. He works with the council's office, so if you have any questions or need anything along the way, he's on the call as well. But again, if you have a question specific to this project, the chat function works well so that not everybody's trying to talk over one another. And then at the end, hopefully we'll have a nice open area where we can ask questions and things like that. So, all right, moving forward, if you're on this call, you very likely got a notice and you live in the area, so you already know where we're talking about. But just to provide some context, we are east of Nashville, a little bit northeast of Nashville. Lebanon Pike comes up through here, and you get off on Lebanon Pike, then Saundersville Road, and then it makes that 90-degree turn, and we're kind of in that wiggle in between before you go over to Wilson County. And then zooming in a little bit closer here, this is the Metro Parcel viewer. The property that we're going to be talking about is in blue. It has that blue line around it with the shading. And like Councilman Hager said, there's a church up front that's existing. And our client came and purchased the property on behalf of their own church. That they're looking to find a church home, a physical place for their church. They have another church congregation. And when they looked at buying this property, they were asking around in the community and some folks, and they got to talking to some neighbors, I guess, and the folks buying it and helping the church to purchase a property are also do some land development in Nashville, so they are local, and they started looking into, well, what could we do with the property, because they got quite a bit of property here and more than enough for just one church building, and so there's always potentially expanding the church a little bit, so we're allowing for an expansion on the church, and then there is potentially they want to do a school/daycare program, and as they reach out around the community.
I have a phone number to log in. Yeah, let me use the phone number.
Oh, somebody's talking. I can hear. If you can mute yourself, sometimes that's distracting, but I'll try. I don't know if anybody else could hear that.
Keep it muted.
Okay, thanks, Matthew. And so as they're looking at what to do with the property, they started thinking about how to invest in the community, and they hear a lot of folks saying, well, we don't have a good daycare around for our kids, housing costs, and things like that. And so they said, well, maybe we could program this property into hopefully providing a good housing product that might slide in at a more affordable rate. Again, not looking at lower income type stuff, but more maybe a moderate, nice product, and that would complement the daycare and the church, maybe kind of targeting 55 and up type of crowd, and have it be walkable. It's not too steep, and have it be walkable and nice like that. And so we started to tinker around and program with it. And I'm going to come back to that. And here's the layout we ended up with. And I want you all to know that this is probably the fourth or fifth layout. What we do when we lay out a site like this, we just kind of start off with what can be arranged on site. We had multiple different kind of iterations. We had townhomes up on Saundersville Road. We tucked them back, and here's where we ended up. And I want to explain kind of the genesis of this plan and how it came about. Is our client, Ms. DeLisa, is on the call too. They wanted the church and the potential school expansion, daycare expansion, to have a good amount of green space where kids can play. It's the church first. That's why they invested in the property. And so the front whole portion of it will remain to have a church look with the big field. So we did not want to put any buildings or residential units up along Saundersville. We're not looking to disrupt the existing character up and down Saundersville. And so we wanted to tuck those back. And then we wanted it to be walkable. And so we started programming a sidewalk network through here and thinking through what kind of units can go in here to look nice, be attractive, and kind of have its own little community. As we look around us, on the north is to your left, but on the bottom of the page, those are all duplex lots. Everything else around is single family to the north, up around Wilson County. On the east side of us, this is an older motel right here on Tyne Boulevard. And then there's two commercial properties, actually I think three properties total. It's a gas station, convenience mart, so it's all commercial up here on the corner. And so anytime we do this, we go to Metro Planning and we look through what is the policy of what's the land use policy. And it's a T3 neighborhood maintenance, and we started thinking about, well, in any of these situations in a planning study, what we do is we try to step the density or transition the uses and density. And so we've got motel, gas station, and duplex, and we're kind of sandwiched, the main area where we're between is sandwiched in between. We're transitioning down from motel, gas station, to townhomes, to duplexes, to single family. And so that's kind of how you see the pattern of a lot of these types of developments that go up. There's a pattern of more intense to lesser intense type of linear pattern. And we tried to hold that somewhat. We split all the units in the very back. Those are all going to be detached cottages. internally. Just in the middle will be attached townhome units. They're all going to be rear loaded on this side over here where the alleys are. These few right here will be front loaded. We've got parallel parking to come down the private drives. And then these are garage loaded back around the back here. And so it's really meant to create its own little sense of place that would interact with the school and the church up through here. We are not, whoops, kind of went too fast there. We're not looking to disrupt the patterns along Saundersville, but trying to tuck that back, and then everything will come out through a private drive over on this side near the commercial. We're going to put a buffer around the site, and the back of the duplexes has already got a pretty heavily wooded buffer. There's a buffer along the north side that we want to maintain a healthy buffer up through there. And then for our own sake, we want to buffer the back of the gas station and Convenience Mart and put a tree buffer right there. So it kind of creates its own little area that with landscaping all the way around. Now, to do this process, I'm going to come back to this right here. There's a little bit of site data here. There's one of the addresses. We're 3 parcels total, and the entire property is almost 9 acres, right around there. It's currently zoned R20, and we're going to propose an SP. And I don't know how many of you on the call have heard of SPs or know much about them. I'm going to go through a very quick process. By now, a lot of people have, but an SP is its own zoning. It's a specific type of zoning, and that's really what the acronym is, a specific plan. And what it is more of a collaborative type zoning that we all, what the developer does is says, well, I'm going to propose something that that we're going to do these attached townhomes on private drives in this configuration and create this community. And so by doing an SP, it requires a process where it gets reviewed by all the departments in a more specific manner. And so that would be sending it to planning, stormwater, public works, Metro Water Services, the fire marshal, urban forester. Everybody takes a look at it, reviews it, and offers feedback on what they think it should be, and we have to make tweaks and adjustments through the plan throughout. It goes to Planning Commission. The Planning Commission members make comments and vote upon it. It'll then go to Metro Council, where Councilman Hager, it'll come across his desk, and if it moves forward, he would sponsor the bill and take it through 3 readings at Metro Council. The Planning Commission and the second reading at Metro Council are public hearings where anybody can speak upon it. Therefore, the neighbors, the neighborhood and the community is involved. And the whole process takes about 5 or 6 months. And what happens is that when you get all those entities and all those people offering comments and feedback on a plan, what comes out the other end is kind of like what I would call like a great compromise, or something that's been reviewed by everybody, that everybody, maybe it's not perfect and not one person got exactly what they want, but it's been kind of massaged through to get to hopefully the best possible scenario. And so we try to drive that ship and hold community meetings, organize this with Metro Planning, with Councilman Hager, the client, and provide all the feedback. And so if you have questions along the way or want to give feedback, I would be a good person to contact. I'm the applicant on this process. And so that's what we're doing here tonight, is kind of showing you and giving you our reasoning behind this plan. Hopefully, take some questions, get your thoughts on it. And that's what we're here for. And I think that's all of the slides I have. So I'm going to leave it right here on this slide. And again, if anybody has a question, if you can type it in the chat, that would be great. Or we don't have a tremendous amount of people on the call, I don't believe, unless more people got on. I saw there was maybe 8 or 10 or so, and that's not too terribly much. So with that, Matthew, I'll kind of let you kind of dictate how you want to do the questions. Yeah, Delisa.
If you don't mind, I'd like to say a few things.
Oh,
to
yeah,
just,
that would be great. I'm so sorry. So
no,
everybody,
no
let me
worries.
introduce Delisa Guerriere. She is a representative of the owner development group that has purchased the property. So Delisa, take it away.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Councilman Hagar, thank you so much for your time tonight as well, and all the community members that could join us. We were blessed to purchase this property in June, and as Adam said, we've had quite a few of conversations with people in the area, and wanted to get their perspective on this. Our vision, as Adam said, was to provide a home to our home church and to be able to expand the back into a much needed school and child care for the area. We've looked at communities all over the world, really, where there were, church communities that had a lot of land around them that were not being used efficiently. And since then, a lot has been happening to really provide use to that space, to provide an essence of a community around the church. And of course, there's already residential here around, but we've done a lot of pocket style neighborhoods around the town, and thought that this would be a really appropriate place to provide. Obviously the housing need in the area is significant, and just to provide homes that are near a church and a school and a community as beautiful as this was our vision. So Adam, you did a great job of explaining, and thank you all for your time. I look forward to any questions as well.
And can I ask some questions? I can speed it up pretty quick too.
Sure.
This is Larry Hager, councilman in that area. On the SP, on these particular townhouses, are we gonna have a material requirement like 50% brick, 50% hardy backer, or has that been discussed yet?
I would welcome that. I have never used anything outside of brick and hardy on any of my developments, and I would not mind it being spelled out in the SP at all.
All right, and I'm assuming won't be short-term rentals involved, NS?
That's correct. We are perfectly comfortable with that.
Yeah. Stormwater, do y'all know where the stormwater is gonna exit out at? I know you got retention ponds in here. That may be a question for Adam.
Yeah, Adam.
Myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, there, I was trying to unmute myself. Yeah, the land generally flows from north to south, Councilman Hager, and so there's going to be ample room in the front around the church to provide any stormwater treatment. What we typically will do is come into these pockets and provide infiltration. So we want to reduce the stormwater runoff, and so what you see in these little courtyard areas, both of them have area reserved for stormwater treatment. And so we've got to take on all of that and hopefully infiltrate it as much as we can so that there's less runoff after the development.
All right. How many total units are going in there?
We've got it drawn at 49 right now.
A lot of people are gonna ask about the traffic over there. Have y'all talked about doing a traffic study yet?
Yes, we would be open to doing a traffic study. It's not warranted with projects of this size, and we get that question probably on every project we do, whether it's 2 units or 200 units. And really what happens on the traffic studies is that really until you get up to about 100 plus units, it doesn't really move the needle in a lot of areas. And I know maybe that's hard for people to understand, but whenever we have to use models, that's about what happens. And so from an engineering standpoint, there won't be a whole lot of impact. Now, from a community standpoint, you live across the road, and we'll try to line that drive up better there as it comes out onto Saundersville. But you're looking at probably, pretty low peak hour traffic, so just a handful during the peak hours. So it really won't have much impact at all on when we're thinking of major traffic impacts. So I think I saw up in the chat, somebody asked about a traffic light. We do traffic signal warrant analysis is what you call those. Traffic signals really aren't warranted until you get like several thousand trips. I think sometimes people are, maybe the perception is that we need a traffic light, but the places where traffic lights are, you get very, very heavy traffic, and so there wouldn't be any traffic lights warranted out here.
All right, can I ask, I know I go turn left a lot up there at Tyne Boulevard. I've got some friends who live back there. And it's difficult to turn left right there. What I might ask to propose is a turning lane into the entrance there, because y'all have got, looks like plenty of land that you could add a turning lane in there, and I don't think that'd be asking too much to do that, because in the afternoon with traffic going home, that road gets pretty heavily traveled and you get backed up. And that might be something I'd ask y'all to consider putting in if you're not going to put a traffic light in, okay? The other thing is, I'm a little concerned about the parking for the residents back there. If there's enough parking, are you like two cars per unit, Adam?
Yeah, I'll answer both of those, Councilman Hager. The turn lane, we understand that's something that would be expected. I see Karen in the chat wrote it will impact traffic. Yes, I want to be clear. I didn't mean to say we're not going to impact traffic. What I'm saying is that from a modeling standpoint, when you do what's called a traffic impact analysis, you don't really see those models move too much until you get into the higher volumes. But to help mitigate traffic, yes, a decel lane or a turn lane or things like that are very much understood. And then as far as parking goes, keep in mind this is a conceptual model to show intent for the SP, and the exact parking requirements will be addressed. But to briefly answer your question, we're showing a lot of two-car garages, and then I've got 33 guest or surface spots shown. And so there's also additional room to provide more guest parking because somebody has a birthday party or somebody's coming over to watch the game. Yeah, we do want to make sure there's enough room for both the residents and the guests.
Okay. And do you know what the price point is going to be of the townhouses?
That would be a question for Delisa. Delisa, have you guys programmed that yet?
We have not exactly, because we don't have our exact square footages, but looking at the area, I would say that we will probably be somewhere in the 3s and 4s. We've been working with Amazon and looking at using a partnership with them to be able to provide a few that are offered at a lower AMI, if you will, to maybe a few of the units. So we are actively looking at all of that right now.
Okay. And now I understand the duplexes that it backs up to on the north side. They're about 6 units per an acre, and what y'all are proposing is what, 4.4? Wait a minute. I think they're 4.4 units per an acre.
Yeah, you had it backwards. The duplex lots were at about 4.4.
Right, and then this proposal is what, 6 units per an acre?
If you're only looking at the Davidson County acreage, which is 7.5, it comes out to about it comes out close to about 6.5 units an acre. If you use the total acreage, the 8.54 acres, it comes down to about 5.7 units an acre. And Adam can correct my math is a little off.
And the other question I got is that it being neighborhood maintenance, does the community plan have to be changed?
No, I met with Metro planning staff and I asked them that specific question because we wanted to make sure that if we're going to have to get into a community plan change, I want to know that on the front end. And their answer was no. What they asked us to do, we showed them a similar layout. They asked us to take the units in the back and separate them into detached cottages, which we've done. And then they had some other minor comments on orientation, but by and large, planning was good with this layout. And so we wouldn't have gone back to this point until we had gotten planning's blessing. And so planning has looked at this and they said they do not have to do a community plan amendment.
All right, and who are the planners on this one?
Oh gosh, we talked to Lisa at first, and then it was assigned to, I think, Logan or Amelia, and then also with Anita McCaig.
Okay, and then these are going to be 3-bedroom townhouses or what?
The final bedroom count we won't drill into yet, but they'll likely be 2 and 3 bedrooms, I would say. And Delisa, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah, no, because of the need, we try to stay away from 2 bedrooms. So typically we'll do 3 or 3 with an office. So that's usually what most of our plans are at this
Okay,
point.
and all these townhouses will be for sale, is that correct?
That is correct.
And they'll have their own HOA
That's correct.
and they'll be separate from the church.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, that answers most of my questions for now. I'll
Can I
leave it
just-
open to the community.
And I just
now.
wanted to jump in real quick and do the planning reviewer for this project is Dustin Shane.
Who?
Dustin Shane.
That's what I thought. Shane was involved. All right, open it up to the community now. Let them know.
okay, Matthew, I've got 2 questions on the chat I can answer, kind of coming down through there. So Karen wrote, can you come in off of Wall Street as well? Wall Street is up on the top of the plan up here. That's on the Wilson County side. We are in an interesting situation where as engineers, we have to be careful about what we can commit to in another county. In other words, in Davidson County, we can't say, hey, go improve Wall Street. And likewise, Wilson County can't say to Davidson County, hey, go improve the street. So when you say, can you come in off of Wall Street, the answer is we aren't opposed to it, but we are not proposing to put a main entrance off of Wall Street. If anything, we may access Wall Street in the form of a secondary access point for safety purposes to meet fire code. We do have 2 points of access on Saundersville. That'll be an open drive through there for the church and then that point there. But as far as Wall Street goes, it's an unimproved road. It looks like a yard today. I think we'd probably surprise people if we came in there and tried to build a road, and that would get quite expensive for not much purpose. So it is not our intent to come off of Wall Street with the main vehicular access. And then the next question was, how big are the detention ponds and where does the runoff go from these? The stormwater ponds probably won't get much bigger than what you see on the plans. It may be difficult for you to see if you can see the screen. The internal courtyards here in this little C-shaped courtyard has a stormwater pond there, and then there's a triangular one back here, and then there's a little triangle one right here. Those are going to be more than adequate to serve this type of site. And again, we would try to infiltrate those, meaning the water would run off of the driveways and the rooftops, go into a bioretention pond, and then infiltrate down into the ground as much as possible. And the goal is to capture the first flush or the first inch of rainfall. And then where the water goes from there, if there's any extra, that will be less runoff than what would be there today. We're required to do that through the Metro Stormwater Department. and it would just follow its normal drainage patterns. And so we can't disrupt, it's not legal for us to disrupt drainage patterns. We have to go through a pretty rigorous stormwater approval before we would get any permits to do anything out here. So I hope that answers it.
And I'm just gonna say, if anybody on the call has a question they want to ask in person, feel free to raise your hand and I can request that you unmute. And if you're just on the call, it looks like both of you are on the call through your phone. You're both unmuted, so just feel free to ask a question as they come to you. I believe Karen wants a explanation on the drainage pattern, Adam.
Okay, so can you still see my screen as I'm switching over to Parcel Viewer, Matthew?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, okay, we're looking at your application. You might need to switch from application sharing to screen sharing.
I sure will. Let's see here. Share. Better. Now, can you see it?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So, Karen, to hopefully answer your question, I think I can maybe draw a little bit. The little orange lines on your screen are contours. And so as you look at this, there's a 540 contour here, a 530, and then it kind of has a saddle point right here. And so the drainage kind of splits. It goes this way a little bit and then this way. That's kind of where the existing drainage patterns are. And so we would not be able to change drainage patterns. In other words, if water, if we develop something here and water's always flowing this way or that way, we always have to continue on with that drainage pattern. There, I got rid of it. Back here in the very, very back, we have to do a study. We have to do what's called a hydrological determination on the property to determine where any jurisdictional waters are, sinkholes, floodplains, streams, ponds, wetlands, and all of those things. And so we would do a study and have to get all of that stuff permitted before we could do any type of work out here. And so the best I can tell you is that once a survey is performed, we have to maintain those existing drainage patterns. Okay. Looks like you wrote back again. I understand that, but when you change the contours of the ground, you alter the water flowing. That is true within the site, but we are not allowed to alter the water flowing on anybody else's property. And so we have to tie into all the contours all around the site, and all of the same amount of water, or what we call drainage areas, still has to go to the same spot. So we are not allowed to alter the water outside of our property lines. So even though we will be altering the contours inside of the property, the moment we get to a property line, there's a hard line there, and we're not allowed to change the patterns outside that property line. So we would still be going to the same place.
Well, if I'm correct, what water flows there now to the south goes across Saundersville Road over the Sherwood Forest subdivision. Is that correct, Adam?
It looks like it. There's, uh-oh. I don't know what happened there, guys, but I'm gonna zoom back in. But yeah, I believe you're right there. So if I zoom in here, what I'm gonna do, can you all still see the property?
Yeah, you got the street view now.
Yeah. So you can see as you drive past, it's not very steep side. I mean, it's what we would call sheet flow. All the water just kind of makes its way very slowly in sheet flows through the grass, and then it gets collected in these roadside ditches. And then we would have to do a drainage study to find out and do a survey to find out where all that goes. And if we look across Saundersville, there's a roadside ditch over here as well. And it goes underneath here and then up to this point up here. And then after that, it's kind of hard to tell from street view. And so what we would do is we would be capturing all the runoff from the rooftops, from the houses, from the pavement, and we have to collect all that water and put it into a bioretention pond. So it's not like it goes right from a rooftop or a pavement and goes directly out into the neighborhood. It all gets collected and slowed down or even infiltrated. And so if you're looking at the street view again, I can go back to the plan, but let's say we dig a big hole in the middle of this yard, and I call it magic dirt, but we would fill it with biomedia and take all the water there, and the water would all flow there and infiltrate down into the ground. We have under drains so that it stays down in the ground and recharges the groundwater table, which is the kind of the theory behind the treatment right now.
So it would not, that water, I've got a house on Shasta. There's a ditch behind it. And I'm assuming it starts up there at Saundersville Road, but I don't know.
Okay.
So Shasta is over there, comes off of Reiner, if you know where that's at. And there's a ditch runs down the back of Shasta. So
Okay.
that's the only thing I'm asking is there this gonna add any water to that ditch coming over to Sherwood Forest?
No, sir. In the requirements of the stormwater ordinance, we have to do a pretty hefty stormwater design. And those models show that we are not allowed, for example, we measure it in CFS. If 10 CFS are going in that ditch behind your house there, we are not allowed to take that to even 10.1.
It's just a ditch. When the developers built Sherwood Forest, it's not a real deep ditch, but it's a ditch where all the water comes off of Rainer that runs parallel to Saundersville, comes down the back of Shasta, and goes behind one of my houses over there.
Yeah, I see the blue line coming back here behind Shasta.
Yes.
And then comes down. Yeah, we would not get a permit to grade unless we prove to them that we have less runoff leaving our site.
Yeah.
So
And that's what people are concerned about, is putting more runoff water in the neighborhood. I would be too.
Sure. And yeah, absolutely. And stormwater's come a long way. They're actually issuing a new regulations that's coming out this fall, and they continually get more and more stringent on it. When Sherwood was built and when a lot of subdivisions were built, there weren't the same requirements that we have today. The requirements that we have today are extremely stringent. They got even more stringent in 2016. They got more stringent in 2020. And this next round that is coming out in effective 2022, even more so. And the hope is that as it continues to become more stringent, more and more water will get captured and infiltrate on site. And if it overflows at all, it'll be at a lower rate than what comes off today. Because today, water comes off that property. I mean, it does. And so we are allowed to at least release that amount.
Yeah, Adam, maybe I can share on the last a project that I just completed not too far from here in Hermitage. We had to put in 3 bioretention ponds like Adam was showing on the plans. I mean, and those things were about 10 feet deep, and they were designed to be able to absorb all of the water runoff that building the homes, impacted. And so it's hard to sort of understand unless you see it done. But the way that they have the science to calculate all of that is very efficient. And as he said, the stormwater approval process has been very rigorous. And hopefully that provides some context. But I do see, Adam, that you do have a few hands up.
Hey, John Wesley, if we're ready to move on, John Wesley, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
You hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. It's good to talk to everyone. I don't really have a question or anything. I'm just want to make a comment. I've lived in the area for almost 40 years. Grew up, raised, and I'm super excited about the potential of this development coming. Because to me, it's just gonna brighten everything up on that corner. The gas station and that market has been there for years and years. I mean, ever since I can remember. And, I just feel like this is just going to make everything look a little cleaner, a little better shape. I'm just excited to see, my neighborhood, my area that I grew up in, just the opportunity for it to grow a little more with these developments. The bioponds, and I could completely understand people's questions on that. My profession, I work for a company called Scott Materials, and we actually install bioponds all over Nashville and surrounding areas. And I personally know that the codes and the way they check these ponds, they have to be spot on, and if they're not, they make them dig them out and redo them over, and they act exactly like they're supposed to. So I have no doubt that all the water runoff will be just fine with the ponds that are going to be put in there. But I just wanted to state how excited I am for the community for this potential development to be brought in.
And if I may come in next, my name is Vaiwila Menya. And thank you very much to everybody, and also to the gentleman who just spoke, that has lived in this neighborhood for over four decades. It is a good testimony, because I believe this edifice, this church that is coming along, I heard, if I did hear correctly, that is coming to brighten up the area with daycare and other facilities that the community will benefit from, not only the population of the church. So I believe strongly that it's a good project. Thank you all.
Maria, I sent you a request to unmute. Feel free to ask your question or have your comment.
Hi, everybody. I also agree with John. The area needs a new feel, and I'm very excited for this project. As a realtor in Nashville, I've seen how Nashville has been growing in the last few years. We've seen a tremendous growth in the city, and it's just a needed project for the area, especially with the church there and the daycare. I feel like we can all benefit from that.
Thank you. We did have a comment in the chat from, I apologize, Mr. Luak, Luak, I cannot pronounce your first name, I apologize, or Mrs. Luak, apologies. They said—
Yeah, I can handle that.
Okay. Adam?
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll take that one. I read that as well. The question reads, if anybody doesn't see it, it says, I wanted to know if members of the community who live specifically near the property that you plan to construct on are open to the construction, or will it be discussed with the community after the approval of the council? I think this looks beautiful, and everything that has been discussed is very straightforward. Okay, so I hope I'm answering the intent of the question, which is, are people going to be notified of construction around this development? And I'm also going to answer that by kind of explaining the process. The process is we're at the very early stages of an SP rezone. And like I had on the screen earlier, that'll take 4 to 5 months probably to go through the full rezone. After that, there still needs to be plans designed, and the plans approval can take anywhere from 5 to 6 months. And then, so what that means is that it may be 10 to 12 months before they even have a permit to do anything out here. So if everything goes smoothly and perfectly well, anybody on this call, you can tell your neighbors, you probably, even if it goes well, you probably wouldn't see any construction equipment for 10 or 12 months at the earliest. So once construction starts, there isn't a requirement to go out into the community and tell everybody, hey, I'm going to do something on my property, other than the normal processes that receive public notification, which this rezone is one. So we're happy to help communicate things in any way we can. I know I can speak that I've worked with Delisa before, and they're great to work with and great people. And I'm sure if somebody wanted to be notified of the progress along the way, it can be, but there is no requirement to do public notices for construction. The public notices are for rezone, which is what we're going through, and then there will be a rigorous process through Metro that'll take about 6 months. So I hope that answers it. And please, comment again if I didn't or if I can help.
Adam, is there going to be any blasting at all, or do y'all know at this point in time?
We don't know that yet, Councilman. I mean, any development in Tennessee has the potential for blasting. So it's impossible for any developer anywhere to guarantee anything like that. What I can tell you is that the site is not severely sloped, and just from the topography, it doesn't appear to have big rock outcroppings and things like that. So I will have my hopes up that we don't have a lot of blasting, but it's not something we can guarantee. We're not going to be digging basements or big, deep parking garages or anything. So, if there's no rock within the first 4 or 5 feet of the surface, there likely won't be any blasting. And I can assure you, we do a lot of projects. If we can do a project without blasting, the developer doesn't want to do it either. But we just don't know that answer until you actually get a geotech and design the details of it.
Are these townhouses going to be on slab?
Yes.
Are they on slab?
Yes, they will be slab.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Great. Shardrell Maddox says, hello, everyone. This is a beautiful plan. Knowing that I have one more option for child care is extremely exciting. I also want to note that Representative Jernigan was able to join on. I don't know if he wants to speak on anything, but if he wants to, he's more than welcome to.
Thank you. I got a card in the mail, so I live really close by. So I'm watching as like everybody else. So thank you.
Great. Do we have any more questions? Comments? I'm not seeing any. If Councilman Hager, if you want to go ahead and wrap up the meeting. For clarity, they are currently scheduled to go to the Planning Commission on October 14th. There will be a chance for you to have a public hearing at that meeting and make comments for or against as well. And then from there, you'll have a second chance once it gets to council and have a second council public hearing. And
you can, anybody got any other questions, they can email me at Larry.Hager@nashville.gov. And then, I'll take your comments back to the developers as well, and me and Matt can discuss it with them. I'll work toward the SB, which is a special plan, to make sure that, with the way this is being done, we'll have, building material requirements. And I want to make sure that, there'll be a traffic plan there, due to that area getting heavily traveled, especially in the afternoon. A turn lane might be warranted, in that area. Like I said before, it's very hard to turn left on Tyne Boulevard, because I got friends that live down there. And I just want to make sure that, the stormwater is controlled and things of that nature. And, these are, townhouses are comparable to the prices of a lot of the houses in the surrounding area. And that's all I got to say. If anybody's got other questions, they can email me, and I'll close the meeting at this time and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you so
all.
much,
I appreciate it.
Councilman.
Yes, ma'am.